Hi, I'm Jeanniey Walden, host of Liftoff Business. Thanks for joining this podcast. Today, we've got a special treat for you. We've taken 4 of our favorite interviews and pulled them all together in a Valentine's Bonanza. Enjoy hearing from 4 incredibly powerful and successful business leaders. Listen to what they're doing today, how their businesses are thriving, and what it takes to be the best. So get ready to lift off. Hey, we're back, and I'm here with Lauren Peters-Legue from SalesForce. Lauren, so great to have you here at Impact 22.
Jeannie, it is so nice to be here, and it's so nice to meet you.
Now, are you getting a nice break? Because I know when we were getting ready for Impact 22, you were pretty busy. You had a birthday party going on, and you even had, a little cameo appearance from the birthday girl.
I did. I had my 3-year-old turned 3 on Wednesday of last week.
Amazing.
It was really fun. And I have to say, yes, this is such a nice break. It is beautiful being here.
Yeah.
And I loved traveling without car seats. It was great. Really, it was a huge highlight.
It's the little things. It's the little things. And it's those little things that really make a difference, especially when you're in a sales and marketing role. So tell me a little bit about what you do at SalesForce.
Yeah, so I have been at SalesForce for 10 years now, which just seems incredible. I think part of that is the fact that I've had 3 different careers while I was there. So I've always been in brand development and in creative. And right now, I'm on the leadership team for SalesForce Design, which is talking about all the amazing things that are happening in design at Salesforce, and user experience design and strategy design. And there's not only the 70,000 people at Salesforce, but we have an ecosystem of millions of people who also do use design skills in their everyday work. So.
Right. And user experience has become so critically important for every business and in every facet. And coming from a marketing background, it's always surprising to me when companies get it wrong and then they're shocked that it impacts sales, that it impacts brand, that it impacts the revenue that they're making. So how are you approaching this at SalesForce to make sure that you've got this holistic viewpoint, putting the experience at the front of everything that you do?
Yeah. When we were talking about this, and I think that there's a prevalent understanding that there can be tech debt. Like if you mess some things up, there's, you have to actually fix them.
Absolutely.
But there isn't necessarily the same understanding that there is design debt. So a designer's job, regardless of what role they have, is to help people figure out what we should do versus what we can do. And so if you start thinking through, you can use the tools of strategy design and user experience design to help plan out your product that people love, to help create an experience people love. And one of the things that we've been exploring at Salesforce as of late is using those same tools to help build a relationship, using design tools and design skills to build a relationship that you want. And that could be a relationship with your customers. So you have, instead of just a transaction with them, you actually are building a long-term loyal relationship with retention, which of course is the goal. But you can also take design tools and apply them to an employee relationship. And so you're thinking about, rather than somebody coming in every day and just coming to their job, you're actually thinking about what's their career path, what's their pathway through this so they have a thriving career. If you're thinking about your partner relationships, you can have a vendor, or you can be building out a network of people that are going to help your innovation scale. And one of the other things that is new, at least to me, and I've been, working in this business for a number of years, is thinking about the communities in which we work. Because it's not like we are interdependent. There's nothing, we don't work in isolation.
Right.
And so we have to think about the communities that we live in and the environments that we're living in. And also thinking through those things is really complex, which is why using design tools and design skills helps a lot.
I think that's so brilliant because, from a marketing perspective, I'm so used to creating that customer journey, whether it's B2B, whether it's B2C, whether it's B2E. You just start out and you map out the flow. Where are the issues? Where are there gaps? Where do we need to create more content? Where do we need to look at data? But nobody really applies that design perspective to every role in an organization. And I think what's amazing and incredible about what you're doing and what SalesForce is doing is you're expanding that. And I love the community aspect as well, because the world has become one big social community. I mean, we're here in person, but all these people are live watching us, sharing what we're saying with their communities for all different reasons and purposes, and finding different value out of that. So how are you taking that aspect of communities and design and pulling it together inside Salesforce? What are you doing differently than you've done in the past?
Well, one of the things that I think that we're doing differently that we haven't done in the past is thinking about coming at it from a completely different perspective. So we were talking through, there's different mindsets that designers inherently have. The idea that you've heard maybe about beginner's mind, but a beginner's mind plus the idea that a designer has a lot of courage.
True.
That's a great mindset. To somebody to think through, what is this, to buck the status quo, to do something completely different, or to think about what you're doing, if it's marketing or something else, from a perspective of reciprocity. And the other thing is to think about all of these emergent tools that we have. I know that we're talking about designing for global good, to think about them with intention and figure out, okay, what is the best possible outcome for all of us? And so we have some things that we've been developing, such as we've got tools that we're around stakeholder mapping, so that you can figure out what is the most collaborative, most strategic way that I can work with all of these different departments, all of these different people. We also have tools like consequence scanning, which helps you think about the decisions that I make today, whether I like it or not, will have rippling impacts. And how can I think through those impacts to make sure that they are going to be the best possible outcomes for all of my various stakeholders? And so those are a couple different things. We've got we've got a design toolkit, which it's technically soft launched, but I can pass along the URL to everyone.
Breaking news, everybody.
Breaking news. So we've got a relationship design toolkit that's available. We have a really great blog, the SalesForce Design blog on Medium, and it's highlighting all these great stories of how people are approaching design differently. We have, if you're interested in learning about designing for sustainability or designing for inclusion, we have Trailhead is our learning platform. It's all free, and you can go and there's modules, and you can learn all of those different skills. We also have a really cool podcast called Voicing Relationships that we've been developing with the House of Beautiful Business, which has a lot of really cool content. And we have this amazing design community. So we call them design trailblazers at Salesforce, and it's hundreds of there's tons and tons and tons of trailblazers, and so using design skills. So there's just no end to the inspiration.
That's incredible. And I think what you're doing is you're changing the game. You're changing the way we think, about relationship design. And I know we're at the end of our conversation, which is sad, but I don't want to end it without congratulating you on being the winner of the Impact 22 Relationship Design Award, which is so incredibly powerful for everything that you're doing, and will inspire all of us as trailblazers. I know at Daily Pay we use Salesforce. I don't know who doesn't use Salesforce, and now this is a new way to get involved with your organization.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we are super excited that Impact 22 is offering the Relationship Design Award, which this year goes to ViewSonic. Woo-hoo! We were so impressed with their approach to esports, the inclusivity, the way that they intentionally thought through all the different communities and the career pathways for all kinds new people and diverse people. So exciting to be able to have you present that presentation and create a new form of impact. Thank you so much, Lauren. Welcome back. We're here with Doug Frederick from Health Cues, and I have to admit, Doug and I were just talking nonstop in the green room getting ready for this. So I'm not sure if we're going to start in the middle of our discussion or if we should start at the beginning. Maybe we should start at the beginning. Sure. Tell me a little bit about, or tell the audience, what Health Cues is.
Health Cues is all about preventative health care. So that's what we're really based around. And the three pillars we go by are, you're going to hear this a lot in our conversation, is PDT. So we try to get people to be preventive about their health care. That's number one. That's the first line of defense. The next one, diagnosis. If you do have issues, let's get it diagnosed as soon as possible. And the third one is treatment, because if we can do the preventative part, we do the diagnosis, we do the treatment, it's going to save everyone a lot of money down the road, and it's going to put people in a lot better position long term.
I just love that because it gives everybody, all of us, a chance to take care of our health in the right way, especially now in these times where the world is crazy. We don't know what's going to happen next. And also as employees have started to expect their employers to take more care of them and their families holistically. So you work a lot with employers to offer this benefit to the employees. In the midst of the Great Resignation, quiet quitting, the pandemic, a whole 9 yards, tell me a little bit about how HealthQs is helping not only the people that use your service, but also employers offer benefits to their employees that make them feel valued and increase retention.
Right. Well, statistics show that it's no longer about how much am I getting paid.
Right.
It's about what benefits can I get? Does my employer really value employees? Do they value giving me time off?
Yeah.
It's a different culture than it was 5-10 years ago as far as what employees are really looking for in a job today. And we feel with our program, it helps with the recruitment and retention, which is major issues going on right now in the workforce,
right.
Because we're offering programs that most other employers don't offer. So we're giving benefits to employees that a lot of times don't have any employees. And the employees actually feel like the employer feels about or cares about their health today and long-term, because our program is really a long-term effort on getting people to be preventative and healthy.
Yeah, I love that. And you said you're working with companies that helps them also attract new talent. And in so many industries, franchises, home health care, staffing companies, where there's still this desperate need for workers. And I mean, the jobs report just came out, and it's still 2 jobs open for every 1 person that's looking out there. Companies have to be creative and unique, and what you're doing gives them the ability to do that, but then also help the employees with their life, which is fabulous. So talk a little bit about, when an employee starts to use your service, what are the benefits that they see? Because we were talking before about the fact that for some employees, you're offering access to healthcare that they may have never had before. So how does that work?
Our goal doesn't always work this way, but the goal is really to get the employee, number one, to take a health risk assessment, and then get on, speak to a health coach, and try to work through the health risk assessment. And just like you and I were talking, if we took a group of 100 people, you and I could look at the health risk assessments, and I'm not a rocket scientist, and we could tell who is going to have a chronic disease. It's really that simple.
Wow.
And so we're trying to get them to speak to a health coach, do the biometric screening, do DNA screening. What are better foods for you to eat? What's a better workout plan for you? And just really start thinking, 7 out of 10 times, I made that statistic up, we go to the doctor, we know why we're going to the doctor.
Yeah.
And what we really want is people to be thinking being preventative. And when they're going to the doctor, it's for the physical.
Yeah.
It's for the yearly checkups and everything.
Yeah. Now you said something that I just have to ask about. When you have this data and this insight and information, is that being shared generally with employers right now? No personal information, but something along the lines of, hey, it looks like X% of your employee population needs to eat healthier foods, to enable employers then to maybe staff their kitchens and cafeterias with healthier foods instead of, sugar or carb-loaded foods.
In the last year and a half, we've seen a lot of employers actually ask for this monthly report. And like you said, we can't give them the personal information.
Yeah, of course not.
But you could say, this is how many people are using telemedicine. You actually can get down to, this is how many of your employees have back issues.
Yeah.
And what are we going to do to try to make people eat better?
Yeah.
If they're having issues with
better
that.
ergonomics.
Back problems, yeah.
I love that. So are you the driving force behind the standing desks, or?
We are.
I'm obsessed with the walking treadmill with the standing desk where you go super slow, but I'm trying to get my entire team to do that. And we haven't gotten there. Yet. But okay, so we only have a few minutes left. Last question that I'll ask you, and I'm sure more will pop up. But what's the benefit for the employer? I'm sure besides, better capability to put in job descriptions that as a benefit, you're going to have access to this. Also, there's got to be some kind of tax savings on the back end, and the cost of retention and the reduced turnover is huge. But how does the employer benefit from all of this?
I think the recruitment and retention really help out, because some of the people we work with say, they're like, my employees aren't going next door now for an extra $1 an hour because they don't have benefits over there. They don't have a hospitalization plan over there. We do provide minimum essential coverage, so it keeps the employer ACA compliant, and in California, the employee ACA compliant. From an employer's aspect, I think it builds loyalty with their employees.
Right.
And there's about a $600 per employee payroll tax savings per year.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so look, everyone's rowing the boat in the same direction now, because us, as a benefit provider, we don't get anything if people aren't participating and being part of the program.
Absolutely.
The employee gets an increase in take-home pay plus benefits, and the employer actually is pushing the employee, stay engaged, do something, because there's a financial incentive for them as well.
I love it. I think it's so fabulous that you're bringing such a creative new benefit to the workplace at a critical time when everyone's thinking about their health, their well-being, their family, their future, and really making it available to so many people who didn't have any choices before. It's amazing. Thank you so much for being a guest today on Impact 22. And I know as soon as we're done with the show today, you and I will be talking some more.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Thanks. That last conversation made me hungry, I have to say. Talk about supply chain and restaurants. I'm really not sure how we're going to get through this one without me going to get a snack. But I'm so excited because I think I have the most exciting interview right now with Nguyen. He is the founder and architect, because that's such a cool title, of Nom Nom Data. And basically, I think what you bring is the dream solution to every single business under the sun because of what you offer. So I know what you offer, but tell everybody who's listening all about Nom Nom Data and why you're a genius.
So Nom Nom Data provides managed data engineering services to companies. And the reason why it's been so compelling is due to the market landscape. You know, companies are inundated with technologies, resources are becoming increasingly scarce. And, you know, consuming data, while it seems like such a simple thing, it's incredibly complex, and because of the resources and what's exciting and what's not, everybody kind of focuses on like glamorous AI kind of things, and they kind of forget about this foundational piece.
It's so true. And I'm really truly excited because I come from marketing where you live and breathe by the data, and no matter how big of a company I work for, how small of a company, data resources are scarce. Everything is put on some prioritization list that's going to take forever to do. You solve that, right?
Yeah, it's surprisingly ubiquitous from what we found. And the major issue that we see is every single company has some sort of data problem surrounding three main issues. One is there's a lot of manual data entry, things that you're doing manually that could be done 10x, 100x faster.
Right.
The other is getting the information to report on your business, whether it's marketing metrics or other kind of components. And then the last thing is actually using or processing your data so that you can feed it back into your business and provide a better product. And so these are things like recommendation algorithms. But we found that we're an incredibly horizontally scaling business across, you know, medical, e-commerce, manufacturing, internet businesses, mobile gaming, financial institutions. They all have very similar problems. And the crazy thing is that every company that engages in data, they kind of know they're not the first person to do this, but they're kind of paying these premiums to find people that are building custom things for them when they're not doing custom stuff most of the time.
Right. Well, I mean, especially in the data and engineering world, there's always that question, is it better to build it? Is it better to buy it? Is it better in-house? Do you partner with external companies? How has your company helped to solve for that with businesses?
One of the things that we've seen in the market is, especially for data, the core strategies that a lot of companies employ haven't really gone through that many transformations. So in the old days, there was a lot of relational technologies, you know, Oracle, SQL Server, and those created certain types of structures that were a pain in the butt to deal with. And so fast forward into the last 10 years, there's a whole realm of cloud technologies, NoSQL technologies that create other types of problems. And so those are the two main things that, you know, if you've been around the block a little bit, you just see all the time. And everybody keeps reinventing this problem. So the synergies by just having a lot of experience seeing how it's processed at big data scale. We kind of joke sometimes. We interview people and they're like, "Yeah, I've dealt with big data. I process this stuff on my laptop," and you're like, if it fits on your laptop, it's not really big data.
Although I did see a USB for $39 on Amazon for like 2 terabytes, which I couldn't believe because I still remember the days when you had to buy like the external hard drive for $300 and it was, like not even a gig, right? Right. So the world's changing.
The world is changing.
How, if you had to give advice to any CEO and CTO out there, what would it be relating to data?
So the first thing that you have to ask yourself is if what you're doing is groundbreaking around technology. Right. And most of the algorithms that people use and the data processing or the data sources that people are interacting with, it's actually consolidating. Back in the 80s and 90s, everybody produced their own data from scratch. Mm-hmm. It was under lock and key. It was secret. It was expensive to do. And now, how much of the data is everybody producing that is groundbreaking? It's not very much. When you look at Google search engine optimizations versus Bing, they're using the exact same algorithms. And so, that's not what they compete on.
Right.
And so, you just got to ask yourself, am I the first person to be doing this? Is it worth hiring, a team of specialists because it's so much more expensive to do what someone else has probably already done before.
Interesting. Now, but that must be a hard question to ask yourself and give a straight answer to, because everybody likes to feel like they're the first person that's doing it or doing it that way. And you mentioned before that you're very horizontal and you listed a whole bunch of industries that can benefit from what your company is doing. Are you seeing common themes around what their needs are, or is it very different by industry? And do privacy regulations fall into that as far as storage of data and things along that line?
Yeah, this may tie a little bit into what makes nom data unique. Mm-hmm. Today, almost all the startups are SaaS services where you have to put your data into their cloud systems. And nom data's architecture is designed so that all companies own all of their data. We typically have to go through security audits, VPN into our clients' networks to even do the things that we're doing. So they're in full control of all of their information. And across all of these industries, the commonalities that we're seeing are around the technologies and the services that they're interacting with. Yeah. So how many companies these days aren't operating in either Google, Amazon, or Azure, right?
True.
And so the issue is that they're all looking for these cloud architects to build custom things for them. But if you've consolidated down to these technologies, you're not the first person to do it. Yeah. You don't want to make all of the different mistakes because at big data scale, you make one mistake, you get a couple $100,000 a month bill by accident,
sure.
Right?
And I think we've all been there before too.
Yeah.
It's a big learning moment. Yeah.
Yeah. The price of the mistakes goes way up. And then the market dynamics around personnel have changed drastically with work remote, COVID, onboarding people to learn about your business models and things like that. I think the domain knowledge around the information is becoming so much more critical as companies are looking to hire and bring on board people to tackle this problem for them.
Well, it's so great to be able to have an expert resource like you and your company to go to when you need to talk about what you're doing today, how you can do it better for tomorrow, especially as all businesses are in cost-cutting mode. So thank you so much for coming on the show, being part of today's event, and really helping make us smarter about data.
Thank you so much. It's been great being here.
So we're back here with Daniel Langer, the world's foremost authority on luxury marketing. And I'm so excited to hear this conversation today because I'm going to learn a lot. And I know that everybody listening will as well. So you're known as the world's foremost authority on luxury marketing. And if you spend any time on Daniel's LinkedIn page, you'll see so many great articles and, more importantly, comments that people put on your articles about how game-changing your recommendations and your strategies are. Tell us a little bit about what drives you in the luxury marketing space and why this is your passion.
Yeah, so it all started about 15 years ago with just a curiosity. I wanted to know what luxury is all about, and no one could give me a good answer, so to speak. So I embarked on a journey with my doctoral thesis, then wrote books about luxury, And in the end, I concluded that luxury essentially is what I call extreme value creation. So we create extreme value for our customers. And that is, in a sense, as simple as is. And then it's interesting when we walk through life and see all kind of experiences, how much we are surrounded by experiences that honestly are rather underwhelming. Yeah. Whether we go, we were discussing yesterday evening, a couple of people of us who came with Delta, and we all had our own Delta story to tell. And so there can be great experience sometimes, but sometimes you are not treated in a human way. And I think maybe first and foremost, luxury is if someone makes you feel valued and feel treated as a human.
I love that. That's a great description of it. Now, do you feel that luxury marketing products and services have to live up to a much higher bar all the time and can't afford to have any bad customer experiences or issues?
Totally. There is still a little bit the old, let's call it sometimes, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but the old French approach almost of looking a little bit down at the customer. So this was the traditional way how luxury was done. And maybe you remember the times you go in a store and there's the security guards and then they look at you as if you were going to steal something and they make you almost feel a bit uncomfortable. And I remember maybe about 10 years ago an article where someone argued that actually the more arrogant you are, the better it is for your sales. And I disagreed on this from the very beginning. I think especially nowadays, we just heard in the last presentation about values, about authenticity. We have to be extremely authentic as a brand, and if we want to be successful in this field, we have to again put the human first.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, throughout the day, we've been talking about the changes in generations as it relates to marketing, the changes in just the way that we interact with different marketing. And you've written some articles recently or over the past few months about Gen Z and how they interact with luxury brands. Talk a little bit about that. Is it the same, different?
It's completely different. And it's in line with what we heard a little bit earlier also. So first of all, when I work with brands now, I tell them, forget every other target group. The only group that is of interest is Gen Z. And this might be a little bit surprising and maybe a little bit or feel maybe too exaggerated. But the reason I do this is that I said Gen Z is everything on steroids, so to speak. Their expectations are dramatically higher than any other customer group before. And they don't take, we heard it before, they don't take BS for an answer. They understand immediately what's going on. What is very fascinating with this generation is that it's the first generation ever that grew up from day one on social media. So this means, I sometimes compare this with like being the Kardashians on scale. So everyone basically is posting about their lives all the time. So the elder generations do that too, but they remember a time without. Right. If I take a 15-year-old or an 18-year-old today, they don't remember a time before social media. Sure. And this means now their brand choices become much more maybe much more intentional, because they know that any mistake they do in terms of which brand they are surrounded with, because it's going to be now broadcasted on their social media, that basically any mistake here is going to have a tremendous impact on their own self-image and on their own personal brand. And so this is a generation that had to think in a complete different way about life than before. So sometimes I call them the master brand builders. Yeah. And this, you can now imagine, if you have a client group that is extremely aware of how they feel about themselves, they are totally uncompromising on the brands that they are with. Yeah.
So do you think there's going to be a shakeup as far as luxury brands?
Totally.
Who do you think?
50% of brands will disappear in the next 10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
And which brands do you think there will be a set of brands that move up to the ranks of luxury because they've changed the way they've interacted with Gen Z?
First of all, if I just look, for example, at the projects that we are involved with, probably 50 to 60% of projects now are startups, brands that are not yet in the market. And we are working with some very substantial projects with hundreds of $millions of fundings, which will come in the next 1 or 2 years in the market. For example, I can tell you already the jewelry category in 6 months is going to be completely different because a new brand is going to come in that's going to shake up almost everything that we know in terms of customer experience, shopping experience, completely digital, and fully focused on Gen Z. And it's also going to be approach that is community to community, because communities become more and more important. So, for example, who do you choose as your client? Becomes very important. You don't want to be associated with bad actors, so to speak. So brands have to be not just very conscious about their supply chain, but they also have to be conscious in whom they are dealing with. So Gen Z is changing everything.
I love it. I love it. Now, I know we only have a few minutes left, and would you recommend to every brand out there, even those that are non-luxury, to aspire to a luxury brand persona?
Totally. So if you take my definition of luxury, I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier, as extreme creation of value to someone, then we can already see it's completely independent of price. Because I can charge, let's say, if we were in hospitality, I can charge you $1,000 for a room, but I don't give you any value.
Right.
And then you will be super disappointed. I can charge you $100, but I give you $1,000 value, and you will be super happy. So brands should not worry too much whether they are luxury or not. The only question they should answer is, are they creating extreme value?
Fabulous. Such a fascinating conversation with you today. Thank you so much for being a part of Impact 22. And please do follow Daniel and all of his great insights.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This podcast show was produced by the amazing team at Castos Productions. They take all of the worry off of my team's plate. All we do is record, and they take it from here. Whether you're looking for help with your audio or video podcast on YouTube, Castos Productions is the only company to partner with. If you are looking for production help, head on over to castos.com/services. Don't forget to tell them that Jeannie sent you. They've got a special promotional offer waiting for you.